Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight at our board meeting here at this wonderful facility here. We have the clerk, please call it.
Yes, sir. President Cordova,
Here.
Vice President Hamilton,
Here.
Secretary Martin, Member Osborne,
Here.
Member Weigel.
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum. Please, Mr. Hamilton, lead us.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Apologize for that.
They're not in the same place.
Yeah. And I'm rolling back here. I'm getting farther away from the table. All right. Now we'll move over to consider of the agenda, the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion by Mr. Hamilton,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Osborne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the 12/16/25 meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Osborne, a second by Mr. Hamilton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move down to the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
I do not have any questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
A second.
I have a motion by Mr. Hamilton, second by Mr. Weigel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move down to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we move to our items, you're welcome to come on up. I just want to draw attention and thank our FCCLA students for the display that they've set up and for greeting folks tonight. Our Pro Start kids, I think we've got some cookies and refreshments to share. And then I just want to call out the student art that Mr. Pickett brought as well. So just make sure that you interact with our students and take a look at the artwork before you head out tonight. So thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. What we're going to talk about tonight has great applicability to your programs, and so we're glad that you joined us. So my first item tonight, Ms. Sarah Williams, thank you for finding us here and joining us.
Thank you. I'm not as exciting as FCCLA. I swear they're everywhere. I love it. You guys are amazing. So good evening, President, Superintendent, Board. I don't have a whole lot, just we got a couple more schools adopted, so we're really excited about that. Mr. Borio is acting crazy, getting everyone trained. It's been phenomenal. He's been so flexible with all the units. And then I just want to say thank you for that information from the New Mexico Coalition stuff. I got it yesterday, and then they asked me if I wanted to brief at the wing brief this morning. So I went ahead, hurried up, made a quick slide point show on it, briefed it, and everybody on base is so excited. So my biggest thing was, I feel like that's what we've been saying, even when I was a teacher, we were talking about how rigorous our stuff is, and the data wasn't there to back it up. And I feel like now the data is there, and I am beyond the moon to be able to share it with families as they come here to say, this is the information, this is what we're looking at compared to other states. When they come from other states and like, well, our state is higher. And it's like, no, actually, let me show you what your state is. So I feel like that has been phenomenal. So I really appreciate you guys doing all the work that you did for that. That was huge.
Thank you.
So that's definitely changing the narrative, and that's what we're trying
Thank
to
you.
do.
And that's what we're hoping, is that people will join us in sharing out that information. So
Yeah, let me just say, every commander on base is very excited and they want to know more. So now they're starting to schedule one-on-one briefs so we can talk more in depth about it.
Wonderful.
So it's wonderful. Yeah. And then other than that, hopefully we don't shut down Friday, but if we do, I'll still be here. So don't worry. So other than that, nothing else, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Oh, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Of course.
thank you, sir. Okay, next I'm excited to invite Miss Shelley Smith up to the podium to introduce some absolutely amazing kids to you.
Hello, board and Miss Russ and Miss Wilkerson. Thank you for having us. I'd like to talk to you guys about the Amazing Shake. If you don't have social media and if you have been like hiding all of January, you might not have heard. But Clovis Municipal Schools put on a huge, amazing shake here at Raintree. It was phenomenal. We started with over 1,000 students at 13 school sites. We dwindled it down to 6% from those 13 schools, which is our middle schools and our elementary schools. And then those 130-ish got to compete here in a gauntlet round and in a work the room round where they worked all their soft skills. They worked those think on your feet skills. They had to act quick with a minute in between stages and moving quickly. And we have gone from thousands of our kids, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th participating to 8. And so I'm going to ask them to stand and give you a wave. And then in a little bit, you're going to get to meet them. So first off, we have Andy Ward, which I don't think Andy is absent. Callista Garcia from Arts Academy. We have Lucas Fredericks from Mesa Elementary. Kaylee McKnight from Yucca. Everly Hamilton from Marshall 6th Grade Academy. Bryson Miller from Marshall 6th Grade Academy. Sophia Sosa from Parkview Elementary. And Grayson Borio from Gaddis Middle School. So these are our 8. These are our students that can think on their feet. They can do the tough things that we're asking them to do. You know, the world is being raised with phones in their hands and things, but these students can look you in the eye. They can shake your hand and just come to a competitive act such as this and just proudly represent those Clovis Municipal Schools students and how much they grow. And so we're just super proud of them. Those 8 will go to a debate hopefully next month at CCC. We're working on the details of that, but that's where we're at in that. And so these 8 will compete from here and we'll just keep on going. And now did we want to shake? Now we're going to watch a video. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I was so excited about the kids, but now we have a phenomenal video in case you need to see more because it's amazing. My new favorite word.
Everybody get out on the floor and get a little bit, get the board, scene, body can't ignore. Don't knock it till you rock it, we can't skip it no more. Everybody can ignore. Do not get to you rock and we can't take it anymore. Shake it up. Oh. A dream is just a picture. If I leave it in my mind, but a goal becomes a mission. When I make the steps align, I break it into pieces. I write it where I stand. Success is built on structure. Set a goal, make a plan. Set a goal, make a plan. Your future's in your hands. Set a goal, make a plan. Success begins where you stand. Set a goal, make a plan. It grows as you expand. Set a goal, make a plan. Let every choice be grand. I don't rush without direction. I don't guess my way through. I think through every detail. Decide what I will do. My plan becomes my compass. My map across the land. Greatness grows with purpose. Set a goal, make a plan. Set a goal, make a plan. Set a goal, make a plan.
So I know I'm not supposed to talk a lot, but I have one more thing I have to say. Just imagine like you're walking into this room and you're told, sell this house. You have 1 minute to pitch the thing, get your score, move on, shake your hand and get to know someone. And so that's just one of the pictures you saw in there is sell a house, make a commercial, read the news. So, I mean, when I say think on your feet, they are truly thinking on their feet. These are amazing children. So let me let you get to meet my friends. If you are one of the amazing 8, let me call you up here. And did we want to invite you guys to
Maybe
see
just
their
if someone wants
skills?
To go to the front of the table and they can come by and give you a handshake.
All right, Callista, make your own way through the row, and Lucas, come on behind her. You can start off. And then we'll get Kaylee, Everly, Bryson if he's here, Sophia, and Grayson. Come on up and work your way across the room, just like you did at that very first competition at your school. And if you could get a photo off, if you guys don't mind, kind of insert yourself, get a picture of you. Thank you all so much. And you 8, you 7 plus 1, I will see you hopefully next month.
Do we have students from the high school here for the high school update?
Good evening, board members. My name is Ahana Bhakta, and I'm the senior representative for Clovis High School Student Council.
Good evening, board members. I'm also a senior representative for the student council at this Clovis High School, and my name is Jordan Salinas.
To start, since the semester began, we started to work on our state projects. This consisted of our Student Council of the Year binder, our scrapbook, our banner, and our roll call. We have a total of 10 students from Student Council going to state, which will be from February 12th to February 14th in Los Lunas. As of right now, our scrapbook and roll call are almost done, and our banner is still being sketched and painted. Going to state is a great opportunity that I have been able to experience since my sophomore year.
Moving on, we are also planning our CMS Has Talent. This event is going to be open to all kids in the CMS community, so kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And the auditions are going to be held either in the auxiliary gym or the lecture hall, depending on basketball. The expected dates for the auditions are February 17th to the 19th. So if any of you guys have little children that want to audition, it's open to all of you. And now we stand for questions.
Sounds like you're busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have any questions?
very
Busy
busy.
year.
I have no question. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, my next item is the annual trip request for our junior ROTC to go to Abilene. But before we go there, I just wanted to read a notice that we received January 18th. And it is regarding our program. It says, congratulations, your Air Force Junior ROTC unit scored an impressive 93.3 and earned an overall rating of exceed standards for the unit assessment, the highest rating attainable. This outstanding achievement reflects the dedication and leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Lester A. Ball and Senior Master Sergeant Michael R. Kilcullen, who deserve special recognition for mentoring and guiding your cadets. The instructors and cadets exceeded the standard on 8 assessment checklist items, a noteworthy accomplishment. And so I just wanted to call that out because we're so proud. I'm so glad you brought it.
All right.
Yes, good evening. Our request has to do with our trip to Abilene for our drill competition. It's a great trip. It's an overnighter for us, and our cadets are really excited about it. We compete in several events there. to include inspection, armed regulation, armed exhibition, unarmed regulation, unarmed exhibition, male color guard, female color guard, male PT, female PT, first year regulation, and saber team. So it's quite a busy event for us coming up on February 28th. We did compete 2 weeks ago at Paladura High School in a color guard competition. There were 6 schools that competed with a total of 21 teams. We entered 4 teams, a male, female, a co-ed, and a first-year team. And out of the 21 teams, our co-ed team won grand champion, first place. And so we got this really cool World Wrestling Federation belt. And I was very proud of our cadets for that, considering just the day before, on that Friday before the competition, we had a regional director from Alabama fly out to inspect us for 6 hours. So, and that turned out really well. So we had a great 2 days back to back there. We're looking forward to a field trip to Cannon Air Force Base next week on February the 4th. Our military ball is coming up February 13th. We have a marksmanship competition at Caprock High School February the 20th, and then we'll be in Abilene on February the 28th. So February is going to be a really busy month for us. Do you have any questions?
Questions on that?
No, that's a lot of accolades.
Oh, yeah, congratulations, a nice build.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have a consideration item on their
Yes.
trip.
It is a consideration item, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Hamilton,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Weigel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck.
All right, the next item on our agenda tonight is to discuss the possibility of retaining this actual property rather than removing it from district inventory. And so to facilitate that discussion that you'll have prior to making that vote, we just want to kind of walk back through the history of how this came to be owned by the district, what was going on at that time, and then also to talk about how retaining it could meet some new needs. You'll hear from Student Nutrition Services about some shifts that have happened in that department, some other needs that we have that we could take care of with retaining this facility. So just hang tight because we've got lots to share with you. So I'll start by just giving a quick overview of the history of that original purpose and how we got where we're at today. There were 4 current board members who were sitting on the board in 2019. And I don't know if you might recall that spring, we started having a lot of, we'll say, participation at board meetings. There were some parents who were really concerned specifically regarding some behaviors, some student conflict that was going on, especially at the middle school levels. We were having lots of physical altercations and parents were coming. One of the very first conversations that I had with Canon leadership whenever I became the superintendent in the summer of 2019 was about that very thing. They were very concerned about the conflict and tension between students at middle school. Along with that, just a few years prior to that, the district had shifted 6th graders from the elementary setting. I think that was when Gaddis was built. Correct me, those of you who are in the district. I think that's when we moved 6th graders into the middle school setting. And what we were seeing with the data then was that they were plummeting academically. And so we really started to question whether that was developmentally appropriate for them to be at a campus where they were attending with 7th and 8th graders. The other thing that was going on at that time was that our operations department was really looking at numbers, specifically at our central office building there on Main Street because of the age of the building. We were dealing with then and still continue to deal with lots of ongoing maintenance and needs with the roof and HVAC and so forth, just because that building is starting to age out. Along with that, because of becoming a one-to-one device district for both staff and students, much increased technology integration and instruction, and just the reliance on technology in general, we were dealing with a lot more devices. So you imagine a district where we have 8,000 students and 1,200 employees, and each one of those has a device. So you can only imagine the storage that it takes to bring in new devices to get those set up when we have to make repairs and so forth, and it requires more personnel. So that was very much the landscape that was happening when the original conversation started to happen about, do we have somewhere with our existing facilities that we could begin to address those needs? So to start answering those questions, John King was our Senior Director of Operations at the time, and we launched a very in-depth feasibility study. So questionnaires went out to all of the departments, and they were asked to project what future needs, what did they need in terms of space for individual employees, what did their work environment look like in terms of teams meeting and so forth. So that started happening on the operations side. At the same time in that school year, Deputy Superintendent Mitzi Estes at the time launched a work group that included staff, counselors, some parents, and I think maybe a couple of students to really start to pick apart this issue that we were seeing with our middle school grades in particular having to do with student conflict. That's when we launched the idea of the sixth grade academy. Keep in mind also that this is when COVID hit. We were dealing with remote instruction. And that's when we started or continued our partnership, I should say, with UVA, where we did a year-long study and they kind of guided us through sorting through all of those issues, but working with them was particular to the creation of the sixth grade academy. So it was in the fall of 2021, after basically a full year, maybe year and a half of studying the problem, looking at options and so forth. And that was when we came forward to the board, presented all of that information, some financial information, and made some recommendations. And so after recommending or looking at those options and analyzing those issues, that's whenever the board voted in favor of the lease purchase of Raintree, and we laid out a 3-phase plan at that point. I do want to go back, Brandon, to the slide before, because I want to point out in the purple section there what those recommendations were really trying to address for significant needs. We definitely needed a campus, or at a minimum, a program to support students who were struggling with those significant behaviors. We were having a lot of classroom disruption. That's a concern that continues today. But that was like the number one concern, so that we could have a regular classroom environment free of those disruptions, maybe teach some replacement skills to students. You'll hear Mrs. Nigerville talk about that a little bit more later this evening. The second priority was consolidating the technology department. They were and continue to be scattered about the district. And then we continue today, as we did then, to have the need to have a place to train our staff. Again, we have 1,200 employees. We have a lot of staff that need to be trained, a lot of requirements from the state level that require training. We're very often renting space at the Civic Center to facilitate that need. We did that just this past January so that we could bring all staff in together. And then we needed a consolidated space for our student support services department, student nutrition services, and we were looking at central office administration as well. So those were the 4 key priorities at that time. So before making that final decision, I went back into our board documents, and this was one of the documents that was presented to the board. And so we looked at some of the options that were available. All of this information was put together during that year that the feasibility study was conducted and the student behavior work group was underway. And so just as a reminder, it was in the summer of 2020, I believe, that we heard from the Allsubs Corporation, and they messaged to us that Mrs. Allsup was considering looking at a nonprofit organization to donate the corporate offices on 21st Street. And so we toured that building a couple of times. The architect who was working the feasibility study looked at the space that was there, gave some estimates on what it would take for that building to be renovated and adapted to meet those identified needs. And in November of that year of 2020, she asked us to provide a statement from the district explaining what our goals were and what it was that we were trying to accomplish. And so in your informational folder, I supplied that letter that was sent in November of 2020 from myself to the Allsup's Corporation. After sending that letter, we never heard back from Allsup's. There was an estimate done on what it would take to get that building to where it was usable for what the district's needs were. And I'll take that back. We did eventually hear back from Allsup's, but it was 3 years later. And when they came back to us 3 years later, it was no longer a donation. The building had a price tag of $5 million on it with the intent to then donate $2 million back to the district. By that point, the district had moved on, and so that wasn't even relevant at the point. But I think that it's important to recall that history so that people know, because we know that our community knows that building was under consideration. And so also considered was this building and what it would take to get it usable. What you see on this chart is for the building only, not for the adjacent properties that we eventually, when we closed on, we grabbed those properties as well. So you see the different options there. What is the potential for growth? Is there available land? What would that estimated renovation cost be? Or what are we looking at if we do nothing in terms of moving forward with other facilities? So just as a reminder, I wanted to put this in front of you. The conversation at the time was that it made more sense if we needed to spend, making a large investment such as that we would invest in a new building, that the roof wasn't falling apart, and looking towards the future. So those were the options that we considered. So once you approved the lease purchase of this building, we set into motion a 3-phase plan. The first goal of that plan was to create a space so that we could support students who were having those behavior needs. And that designated site was the former student support building. And so we shuffled those staff out to multiple places around districts. They scattered across to open spaces in the district. They were great sports. It was very difficult, Mr. Sparks, it was very difficult, yes, to have all of those staff members scattered all across the district, but they had a great attitude about it and made it work for the period of time that they had to do that. The second intended phase was then to, once we got that staff moved out, to get enough space here to eventually house them. But after that, or prior to that, we wanted to get that student support set up to house the ICANN programs, what it eventually became. And then the final phase that was intended, and these phases were intended to take somewhere between 5 to 6 years to accomplish, that ultimately then, after we got students situated, that then we would bring those other departments here for technology, student support, student nutrition, and central office services. So I think another misconception out in the wider world is that this building has just been sitting vacant. But what I want to point out is that this building has been serving the purpose that it was originally intended to serve, primarily to be a site for that transition and storage. As we emptied out student support, all of that furniture and so forth needed to have somewhere to go. And so it was going to be very transitionary in that original plan. Again, with the focus being to support students. So just to summarize that, you can go ahead, Brandon. Following that deep dive look and the feasibility study, in September of 2021, the board approved the 5-year lease purchase. That initial goal was to support conditions that improved outcomes for students, specifically the behavior, and we were really concerned that our 6th graders were tanking. And then, 7th and 8th grade teachers were having to do that catch up. So in the spring of 2022, everybody, all hands on deck, we put our efforts into launching, and that was a really heavy lift to, in less than 6 months, launch the 6th grade academy, but that's where we directed all of our efforts in the spring of 2022. Once we launched that program, then work began in the fall of 2022 of knocking down walls inside of student support so that could be transitioned to support the ICANN program. The other thing that I want to point out about that time period is that because of COVID, the district was in receipt of millions of COVID-related dollars, some that came directly federally, some that flowed through the state. Those had a very narrow band of allowability for expenditures. And ironically, the way that those dollars could be spent was very similar to what our Capital Improvement Act tax funds could be spent for. So if you'll remember all of the filters that we had to come in and change out in all of the buildings, all of the PPE, those funds could be used for some of the safety-related software and just the barriers that we applied at the buildings and so forth. And so our goal in spending those was to not just burn through them in silly ways. We didn't want to attach them to recurring salaries because we knew that we wouldn't have those funds continuing into the future. So we chose to use those funds where we could for things that would leverage use down the road. So my point in sharing that is that that was a funding source that freed up, so to speak, some of our Capital Improvement Act tax. There's no way that you could have known that really going in, how that was going to work out. But it worked out in that we were not directing our Capital Improvement Act tax funds in some of the same ways that we had been. Buildings were not housing students, and when you don't have 8,000 students in buildings, you don't have quite as much wear and tear, and so there weren't uh-ohs that we were having to take care of during that time as well. And then one last point that I want to point out before going into that purchase, which has been managed through our Capital Improvement Act tax funds. We use those funds for addressing some of our fleet vehicle needs and also for as part of our 5-year cycle that we typically follow for replacing technology and so forth. And so we made sure that we were in a good place knowing that those expenditures are going to have to take a pause because the district is making an investment into this building to address these current priorities and then to be focused on future needs and so forth with the district. And so I just wanted to kind of rebuild that history. It's been a while. There's a lot of water under the bridge. And I felt before we move forward to where are we now and moving forward, that we needed to kind of retrace the history of how we came to acquire this building in the first place. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Brady to pick up from once we got to the next spring and actually entered our facility master planning process, how we had a brand new impression of where we were at.
Good evening, President Cordova, members of the board, and Mrs. Russ. So enter Jay Brady. Mr. King left his position. I was hired. Mr. Hill came on as the senior director for operations. And lo and behold, we get a letter in the mail from PSFA, and we qualified for a facilities master plan match to contract folks to come in and develop a master plan. And I want to add to that, in past board members, we've mentioned for 2 different funding cycles, about 8 years worth of time, we had in-house, we created our own facility plan instead of using outside agencies to do that. Well, that was to our demise. We had information that was not accurate that led us to some conclusions that if we would have had current and relevant information, we might have made better choices in what we were doing with our facilities. I mean, we truly do use that plan to guide and steer what we're going to erect, what we're going to maintain, what we're going to knock down based on student numbers. So we hired Capital AE and we had them come in, and the first thing they did was they hired a demographer. That demographer looks at enrollment trends, not only in Clovis, but also across the state and region. They found, as everybody else did, that during COVID and prior to, birth rates are down. So people are having fewer kids. Clovis had an exodus of people, as well as New Mexico. We actually sheltered that better during the pandemic than most, but there was an exodus of New Mexicans leaving for other states. And so our enrollment trends were dropping substantially during that time. And they also project further for 10 years that our enrollment trends will continue to drop. Now, at some point in a few years, we will level out, but we've lost anywhere from 100 to 200 kids annually over the last decade. That's what's been projected. That's what's been communicated. And we're continuing in that cycle. So with that, our funding goes down. Well, immediately when we got the information from our demographer, they knew what our three-phase plan was. They knew that we were going to close SSC, that we were going to move student support. We were going to do those things that Mrs. Russ just spent some time talking to you about. They told us, stop. And we had already started tearing out walls in the old student support complex. They said, stop. You have more space than you have students. So through the planning process and the information gathering process, their immediate recommendation before we had even finished the plan was to immediately begin the process of thinking through how we would right-size our district. You have more space than you have students. How are you going to fill up your capacity rates in your facilities to meet the requirements that are in front of you from PSFA and PSCOC to qualify for funds? And if you'll remember, when we presented that plan, that was where we were going to consolidate and start the closure process. So where I-Academy at Lincoln Jackson was housed, Cameo Elementary, because of its rating through PSFA and how it would qualify for funds or not qualify for funds, and then Lockwood. They immediately said, let's start talking about that. And then moving our freshmen to the high school. That was another recommendation. So that was considered. So we had multiple meetings with our facilities planning team, which lots of teachers, some students, community members, administration. We had lots of people that sat through, I believe, 6 total meetings as we looked at the information and we started making plans to make these decisions on how we were going to right-size our schools and the schools that we would consider as we were going through that process. So first recommendation was looking at our 3 and 4-year-olds and looking at Lockwood as a new facility. How could that be repurposed? Immediately, they talked about managing that because at that time, if you'll remember, our 4-year-olds were scattered throughout our district. And there was a real disconnect for the people that were supervising that program, our ability to appropriately manage that population in an elementary. Littles, 3 and 4-year-olds need a much different environment than what you can get in an elementary. Restroom facilities being one of the primary things that you have to grapple with. But you also start thinking about playgrounds. Playgrounds, you wouldn't think if you had a swing or you had a slide that you would need the right size swing or the right size slide for a 3 or 4 or 4-year-old. You do. So we looked at Lockwood, we repurposed that school, and we have equipped that to house our 4-year-old and some 3-year-olds over there at that school. The other recommendation that came up was the liquidation of existing properties, Rain Tree, student support, as well as Old Parkview property. It was recommended that we liquidate those properties, use that money for capital improvement at the time. So we followed those recommendations, immediately sought the appraisals because you have to have a current appraisal to be able to put that up, sought for sale, sought approval through the board with our resolutions to remove those from our inventory, which leads us to now. New times, new information have become available. I'd like to start by saying a new vision for Rain Tree and the possibilities, student nutrition services, student program and CTE opportunities, which I'll define that just a little bit for you, and professional development and training. I will start first by the student nutrition. About a year ago, PALMS, which is an agency from our insurance authority, started working with Mr. Hill on the facilities where we maintain all of the food service products that are necessary to feed our students in our district, okay? And so they noted many safety concerns. The freezers, some of them are outside. They're not populated in the same area, so managing inventory becomes a problem. So we started having a conversation, which Mrs. Westbrook will go through with you, about what we could do to consolidate that, to manage that, and create a warehouse that would be under one roof and make it more streamlined and more efficient to be able to manage a very large volume of supplies that is necessary to feed the kids in this community. And I'm excited for Mrs. Westbrook to talk to you about that job because it's a huge job. But she had the funds available to do that. So it's not district funds, it's funds that are generated from student attrition that would have taken care of that complex. So we started having that conversation. And then we started thinking about, do we really need to erect, or do we need to really think about what we already have in our arsenal to be able to outfit and use? Mrs. Russ entered that conversation, and immediately we started the dialogue of how could that be used here at this facility? And then we started talking about a training facility. We really spend a lot of time and a lot of district money out at other facilities in our community, training as well as hosting other events when we could actually use this space to do that. And so, as you can see, FCCLA's here, they actually have competitions. They have regionals, and when I was the principal at the high school, we would invite those people in and we would house them in the lecture hall and other sections of the campus. Very tough to manage. It'd be nice for us to be able to put them as well as other student organizations that need space for competition and start hosting that. One of the sidebar, dealing with transportation, housing, and meals, that expense is going up exponentially. And so that is a possibility of some savings for us as we start to really dive into how we could use this facility in the future to meet the needs of our students. And then professional development. I was in the facility out by CCC with all of our teachers in the district at a current training, and we were packed in there. When you think about what we could do for grade level bandwidths, having been an elementary, middle, and high school principal, being able to get multiple grade levels into a facility and work with them comprehensively as we start thinking about what we do to meet the needs of our kids, having more than 100 teachers together really would benefit our district. And so that's just one angle that you can think about what we can do to use this facility moving forward to get better on what we do to meet the needs of our kids. So with Mrs. Russ's blessing, I started working with our architect on call, Joe Gallegos, and I asked him to produce some renderings for us. And so I'll take a look at, this is option one. Option one has a much larger training facility, as well as you can see in the bubbles to the north side of the complex. We have all the freezers, dry good, refrigerators, all of that, and then a purpose for that kitchen for what we could do with one of our career pathways, our ProStart pathways, our culinary pathways. This is one example, but I wanted to let you take note of the sheer size of what we're talking about with the training facility. The orange cone in the corner, and then the large orange cone over here, and then to the back, you'll see that's option one. That's the first option for a training facility and the size that we use to be able to put all of our teachers in here as we start working with them. And we have to piece together all the different refrigerators, freezers, the dry goods, the things that we need to be able to operate that department more efficiently. And so Joe did want me to make sure and let you know, these are just initial renderings. There's a lot of planning to this if it's approved, and this will not be the final outcome, but this is option one. And then you can look at option two, a reduced training center, some breakout spaces, how we would configure some open space for future programming over there on the north side, or is that the south side? No, north side of the building. And then the kitchen. Now, I want to take you back to the kitchen. Imagine a program, a career pathway, our ProStart kids. When I was the high school principal, we had roughly about 50 to 75 kids that were in a culinary pathway, okay? In our baking class, we had 200 kids in that. If you've been in that kitchen at the high school, then you understand how cramped it is. And it really does limit the number of kids that can be in there. And so in a few more slides, I'll explain that just a little bit more. But this kitchen would be utilized for food service, their test kitchen, as well as our ProStart program. And we would use that in a dual capacity to meet the needs of what food service has to do, as well as what we could do with our CTE career pathways. The next slide is a proposed entryway. Initially, it's just a rendering of what it would look like to walk in the door and be received as we come into the next slide. which would be our training facility. And again, these are just initial renderings that would house anywhere from 275 to 500 plus, depending on what the dollar figure is to come in and make that happen, okay? And with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs.
Good evening. President Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ, Gina. Thank you for this consideration, truly. For some that are here tonight who do not know who I am, I'm Debbie Westbrook. I'm the Senior Director for Student Nutrition and Wellbeing. And as you know, student nutrition continues to expand to find ways to serve kids and to ensure that they have access to food during the school day and out of the school day. So one of the things I want to point out, every district statewide, they participate in the National School Lunch Program, but not all districts participate in supper, advanced meals, or have a mobile food trailer to feed kids on the road. And now this coming summer, the Summer Food Service Program. So we continue to expand this program so our needs continue to grow. As you can see on the slide, there are totals next to each of the programs. These totals represent the first semester. So those numbers will continue to grow as we move through the school year, the spring semester. And while each of these different programs does generate revenue for our program, I just need to express that that is not the heart of our program. Revenue is not the heart of our program. The purpose is to support students. That's the reason that we do all those different things. These additional meal services also reflect CMS's commitment to support all students and their families. That's a big piece. And just to note, a few districts statewide may do some of these things, but none of our surrounding area offer comparable services. So we just continue to find ways to serve kids. Some of our current limitations include existing kitchens that are not designed to support year-round multi-program meal production, because that's not what they were, when they were built, that's not the vision. The past 2 summers, La Casa, for the Summer Food Service Program, has had to bring in additional reach-in coolers to help store some of the food for the Summer Food Service Program, because there's not enough room at a school site. Our current warehouse storage capacity is insufficient to meet the food inventory needs that we have currently. So this was not a new vision. This is a great vision, but this was not a new vision. So we had been saving money back because we knew, just like Mr. Brady said, that we were going to have to put together a new warehouse facility so that we could have a more efficient area, right, to meet the needs of our growing program. And so when this idea was brought to me to make that dollar stretch from just building a new facility to renovating a facility that we had, now we can also include the kitchen, not just the freezer and the warehouse storage. And what a great opportunity for kids. So the whole idea about the freezer capacity changing came from the PALMS guidance. And the PALMS guidance was due to safety considerations. So we knew that we were going to need more storage according to how they said we needed to store and have room in those freezers. We've already had to pour more than $10,000 into the outside freezer cooler. And every day that that thing works, we are grateful, because it was not built to be outside. We have known for a while that our department was going to need to invest in some modernized freezer capacity, and this is the plan. This is what we would like to do. This year, we had to store over 8,000 cases of food purchased through commodity. So when we purchase food through commodity, it's at a discounted rate because we buy bulk, but we didn't have enough space due to the PALMS guidance to store it all here. So we had to go through a process called net off inventory, or a vendor keeps it stored for us at an additional cost. So having our own warehouse space that meets our needs will allow us to have all food items available here in our district when we need it, and lower the cost of storing commodity and all other food that we have to store. Okay. And I stand for any questions if you have questions about what I've just shared.
Are there any questions?
That makes sense to me.
I'm going to turn it over to Evan.
Good evening, members of the board, Ms. Russ, Ms. Gina. My name is Evan Baker, Executive Coordinator for Student Nutrition. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the essential impact of Raintree on a national school lunch program and meal service that we provide. The first thing I want to talk about is operational impact. As previously stated, a centralized summer production facility away from school sites improves our district summer cleaning schedule, reduces wear and tear on the building. So we're fortunate to be able to take over the summer food program from La Casa. That's done a great job for many, many years. This large-scale operation will not only reduce wear and tear on our existing kitchens, but it will also generate additional revenue that can be reinvested into updating and improving kitchen facilities across the district. This also supports rapid response for emergencies, enabling quick mobilization of food service resources during emergencies or unexpected events. This will also allow us opportunities for enrichment activities for student groups by providing flexible support for enrichment activities such as band trips, athletics, and student organizations. This creates additional fundraising opportunities for schools and district programs. This has the opportunity to enhance family engagement events by not only providing meeting space, but meals to feed our families. We all know that if we provide opportunities for food, people are more likely to come. We can offer hands-on professional development opportunities for our student nutrition staff. We can support expansion of the career and technical education programs through real-world food service operations and trainings. A dedicated district facility, including a student nutrition kitchen, would enable us to meet the nutritional standards of all CMS students while also serving the broader Clovis community. The strategic value. This positions the district to provide future student-centered activities as well as student nutrition and CTE program growth opportunities. When considered in its full scope, this represents an opportunity to develop a state-of-the-art facility that will distinguish our district as a leader in how we serve students across the state. We had the opportunity to tour the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque, as you can see on some of the slides. And the images provided reflect design elements and concepts that we hope to use inspiration from. Additionally, we will continue partnering with CCC to establish internships in the coming years, creating meaningful hands-on experiences that will increase student interest and engagement in culinary fields. This supports student needs by expanding access to meals beyond the school day. We can expand access to nutritious meals outside the regular school hours, including after-school, weekend, and summer programs. Helps reduce food insecurity by ensuring students have consistent access to meals when school is not in session. Supports students' well-being, readiness to learn, and overall academic success. This opportunity improves cost control through expansion of our warehouse storage space. It is more cost-effective to repurpose existing infrastructure to meet multiple district needs than to construct a new warehouse storage facility for freezers only. Over the past year, we've had ongoing, like Ms. Westbrook stated, ongoing discussions regarding the need for a new warehouse facility due to limited freezer space, aging equipment, and the inability to safely store large quantities of food. We can be good stewards of our money by utilizing this Raintree infrastructure that is already in place. We can use the money that we were going to use to build that facility and use it 10 times more in here. Lastly, I've had a long envisioned this opportunity, believe it or not, before it came up. And little did we know that one day we would have the chance to see that vision come to fruition. So I want you to look around to think in a year or two, this place Can be something amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Cordova, members of the board, and Superintendent Russ. In addition to the benefit that this space could bring to our student nutrition department and the work that they do for our students and families, as well as the community, we also see great potential in the use of this space to support some of the activities of our career and technical education courses. Mr. Brady mentioned previously the work of our culinary and food service, the work of our FCCLA. It would provide sufficient room to support the presentation for and the hosting of competitions, events, other culinary skill development events. And so you have some pictures of our kids on the screen for this as well. Can we go on, Brandon? And it also would create a venue for showcases and events. We would encourage family and community involvement in our CTE programs, as well as supporting the long-term growth of both FCCLA and CTE culinary pathways. We'd like to increase their program visibility and increase student enrollment in those pathways when we have room to expand what students can access. And so it didn't take long for the creatives in our ranks to start thinking about other great ways that this space could be utilized to engage the community, to provide opportunities for students. Ideas such as hosting a pop-up cafe and coffee shop run by students that provides items prepared by our culinary students. Student organizations could partner to brand, market, and sell these items. Our theater department could host dinner theater events. The space could showcase a gallery of student artwork. And the meeting space could be made available to our student teams and organizations for their banquets, saving them the cost of rentals and catering elsewhere in the community. And the same space could be rented to community organizations for meetings, banquets, or events. We see great potential in this site to serve as quite a hub in our community for a variety of purposes. And in addition to expanding the use of this specific location, to include the training and meeting space that's been proposed serves another purpose in freeing up classroom space at the former Freshman Academy. That is where we house ICANN and iAcademy. ICANN is our instructional center for effective needs, and both of those programs could benefit from space to expand. We created ICANN several years ago, as Ms. Russ mentioned, to provide an alternative educational setting for students who are unable to maintain behavior in their homeschool and are disrupting the educational process for themselves and for others. Students are placed at ICANN either through a referral process that originates with the student's principal or through the hearing process placed by our hearing officer. ICANN is a daily half-day program currently housed at the Student Support and Learning Center, which is the former Freshman Academy campus. While at ICANN, students remain enrolled in their home school and they maintain classwork in the Google Classroom while receiving behavior supports and social emotional lessons from ICANN instructional staff. Counseling and mentoring are provided in a layer of supports intended to take care of all of our students, even those who are struggling and causing disruption in our classrooms. Regular contact and support is also provided by the student's home school teacher, principal, and counselor. Elementary students are placed for a minimum of 25 days, while secondary placements are for a minimum of 45 days. So far in the first semester of this school year, we've had 14 elementary students placed at ICANN, 8 who are currently assigned there. The others have returned to their home school. 19 secondary students have been placed at ICANN, with 12 currently assigned there. We continue to see an increase in the need for ICANN placement resulting from significant student behaviors. And because of these needs, ICANN is serving students as young as kindergarten. Currently, ICANN is staffed with an elementary teacher and a secondary teacher, as well as behavioral support staff. And given the increase in behavior referrals, as well as the current positive staffing position of the district, it would benefit our student population to expand the number of classrooms available to host ICANN students. We would also like to have a classroom space to create a sensory room, which would provide a safe, controlled space for students to de-escalate, to manage stress, and develop coping skills. This can lead to better emotional regulation and reduced anxiety, serving to enhance students' readiness to learn, fostering calmer behavior and better classroom engagement. And these sensory rooms currently exist in many of our elementary sites, but currently there's not room for one at ICANN. And further, I would also welcome the opportunity to expand the ICANN program into an extended day to provide a full day of on-site instruction and behavior supports for those students who really require a smaller setting with greater adult supports in the long term. And another opportunity for expansion lies with iAcademy. iAcademy currently serves students in grades 1 through 12 in a STEAM-based alternative to the traditional classroom. iAcademy is application-based. It maintains smaller class sizes at all grades. Currently, the elementary classrooms at iAcademy are multi-grade, with first and second graders sharing a classroom, as well as a third and fourth grade class and a fifth and sixth grade class. iAcademy strives to keep all of their classrooms no larger than 15 students, and we would welcome the opportunity to expand the elementary program at iAcademy to allow for a single classroom per grade level, as well as increasing the secondary spots that are available to students. And the additional classrooms at the Student Support and Learning Center would provide that opportunity. iAcademy has been incredibly successful at providing a different experience for the students who thrive in a hands-on, project-based, flexible learning environment. And in addition to the potential for additional classrooms, iAcademy would also welcome additional space to create a soundproof music lab to enhance opportunities for their students as well. And currently, additional classroom space for both ICANN and iAcademy exists at the Student Support and Learning Center without the need for additional renovations.
So to sum it up, the rain tree pivot, from surplus to the strategic hub. I want to reiterate the requirements for the state that Ms. Westbrook and Evan mentioned to you just a moment ago. 50% scratch cooking, homemade cooking. And this kitchen and the test kitchen that is necessary to create those meals, very good use of the space and the resource. Also want to talk about what the impact is for our CTE programs and what it could do to bring savings to the district from outsourcing to other facilities in our community and bringing that in-house for what we pay for services for banquets and so on, as well as what we could do to host competitions and stop some of that travel and expense that we have there. I also want to say that the food service storage space, incredible to think about the ability for us to stop outsourcing and the cost associated to the food that we're buying for our students in bulk. And then finally, my apologies. It also can create opportunity for the community to come in and use this facility. I love the idea of the pop-up that they just mentioned. And I'm going to give you a little story real quick. When I was at the high school and the Pro Start team would be cooking, getting ready for their chopped competitions, I would be invited in because I have a little restaurant experience in my background, and they would cook and prepare and I would critique. The meals were fabulous and it was fine dining at its best. It was exquisite. And so the ability for our kids to showcase that, those skills and that food product to these community members that would come in and be patrons to us it's really inspiring to me. And so really excited about that. Now, cost savings, we've talked about that. And I want to make sure that we put the money in perspective. $800 a foot is what it costs to build. That's what I based all of the bond dollar amounts for when we were doing the bond project. A kitchen with the space that's available over there right now would be $3 million to build on site at Clovis High School. This already comes equipped with all of the infrastructure needed to be able to put in a kitchen, a working kitchen. On top of that, we also have equipment from 2 schools that we could repurpose along with the hoods. Hoods are expensive when you talk about ventilating above any kind of cooking equipment. So reach-in fridges, hot steam tables, the refrigerators that come there, all the tables that you would need for prep. We currently have a large number of that and an extra supply of that because of the closures and the consolidation that we've done and from the downsizing. So the estimated cost, Debbie, Ms. Westbrook said that she had about $1 million to put into a facility. We would save that dollar amount in construction costs. And My estimate, if we were to come in and renovate and use this facility, $1 million to $1.5 million is what would be saved if we use this kitchen instead of building a new one with bond dollars when we start the renovation and replacement at the high school to increase the capacity for that career pathway. The equipment, easily 500 to 750,000 in equipment by retasking, repurposing that equipment here. And then again, not building that $1 million savings and using that to renovate here. You heard Mr. Baker say that tenfold, using that money in this facility would increase its ability to impact tenfold. So with that, I stand for any questions. We do have an action item, right, Mrs. Russ?
Yes, sir.
So-
Questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Brady.
I was gonna ask, the $1 million that we're saving is on top of the $1 million that's coming from Mrs. Westbrook's department that is outside of money that's in our general fund.
It's a good question. So if I wanted to build a kitchen this size at the high school, just $800 a square foot times the footage, that gives you a $3 million expense.
Yeah.
Easily, we're gonna save $1 million by repurposing this facility.
Right. And then,
And opening up the door for more kids to participate, because that would be a much larger kitchen. We're cramped at Clovis High School, and we'll be able to get more kids in here.
awesome.
So we don't even really have a place at Clovis High School to extend it that as much as we need, do we? Mr.
Well, I'm gonna say no, but then everything comes into play when you start the renovation and replacement. The footprint will be decreased, so I can't truthfully tell you. From this moment right now, I would tell you, yes, we don't want to add another building anywhere on the facility.
Mm. Well, and I would just like to say that, I don't know how much people outside education understand the need for training facility. But, you know, when we develop a calendar, whatever we do, you know, the public education department is demanding training, and it is really a big thing for everybody. And so to have a comfortable space for teachers to go and to learn the new things that they need to do is important. And I like that we're using this space for students and for staff. And so, you know, I know we were slow on the uptick, but we cannot forget COVID, you know, when we were just in survival mode for a while. And so we had to kind of let things lie while we just tried to survive and educate kids and feed kids and do the very best that we could. And so we're back at it. And I think this is a grand proposal.
Thank you.
Mr. Brady, I had a quick question. 3 million that we're talking about here with the kitchen renovations and stuff. This is a separate line item from the breakout rooms for the iAcademy,
Yes.
and ICANN and stuff like that. This is
Yes.
specifically related to the kitchen.
Yes, I would tell you that $3 million price tag, if I was to build a new kitchen at the high school on CHS main campus,
Mhm.
that would be the estimated cost for me to erect a kitchen there on site for students. And so the savings for me is renovating this space and then repurposing equipment. There's quite a bit of savings by us using a space that's already got all the infrastructure, the sewage, the water, the electrical. The electrical is a big piece of it. I'm not saying that we're not gonna have to touch some of that, but all of that is sitting inside of that structure over there.
Do you want to describe what's behind what we can't
Sure.
see?
So you can see where the stainless steel is back there, okay? Obviously, that's where all of the cooking would have been when they had the kitchen in there. To the left, you're gonna see there's sewage over there. The dish room would have been over there in that section. Prep tables would have been in the front. Up here where the lights are up recessed into the ceiling, those were display areas. That's had refrigerant coolers there so that they could put sandwich and lunch meat and other things out there for people to peruse for their purchase. And then there was a counter space over there that housed the IT for them to be able to buy. And then to the front of it was a dining area. It had little stools and tables once upon a time. And so easily working with our architect and our program leaders that are at the high school and our administrators to come up with a plan of how we could use that. And then the dual purpose of summer lunch, I didn't hear him say this, 3,000 meals a day during summer lunch and being able to use that kitchen. And it's a production. Having worked with La Casa, from my years being in this position, watching what they do in a kitchen to create, package, get it all ready to ship out, and then how they distribute that out across the community is quite extensive. And so that's what Mrs. Westbrook and Mr. Baker are going to undertake. They also, I don't think, gave you this number. At Christmas, when we're out for Christmas, we do advanced meals. They did 18,000 meals in one day. So filling the gap for our kids, this kitchen, not only for our CTE career pathways, scratch cooking, the test kitchen that they need, but also working with advanced meals as well as what we do for summer lunch, and then having the ability to get all of our resources that we need right here on site under one roof. It'll become a much more streamlined operation, as well as a loading dock to the back of us, semis back in there. We can back trailers in there. People can load and unload all of the different ice chests and the things that they do to go out and distribute meals to the community. It's really quite a large operation, but this facility really is equipped holistically to be able to work with them on a production end, as well as a storage facility, as well as we can use it for training, as well as, think of this, we do all these banquets. Raise your hand if you've been at a banquet for one of the Clovis high schools. And so they come in with their serving lines. I can't think of a better field experience for kids that are in the culinary pathway than to have to put the menu together and go out there and prepare that, and then line up in their beautiful chef coats and their chef hats and serve that meal to their peers. That is a job skill. And having done that, that's something you have to be trained on and learn. And so it's exciting to think about what we can do to in-house our own operations for those kinds of events, as well as what we can do for this program, as well as what we can do for career pathways over here.
Does consolidating the kitchen for summer lunch programs and the Christmas lunch programs, does that impact jobs across the district, or cutting jobs, or
No.
adding jobs?
No,
Same people?
you got to think
Different
about the
place.
calendar. In-house, we have all these kitchens. I'm going to talk to you on the facility maintenance piece of it, okay? We have all these school sites across the district, and during the summer, when those kitchens are down, that's where deep cleaning takes place. That's where we go in and we work on all of the equipment, all that Hobart equipment. And when you have issues with it, you have to have a licensed certified Hobart rep come in and work on that stuff. And having had to deal with that at the high school with that culinary kitchen that's in place, they don't just come in an hour and they're done. When they're there, they work through the entire kitchen to get everything calibrated and get it working the way it's supposed to. It's quite an expense. Well, you do that across 18 kitchens, 16 kitchens, my mistake. 16 kitchens. We spend a summer doing that. Well, we've been farming out one of our kitchens for summer lunch. Having this here now will make it easier for us to go in and deal with the equipment, as well as the floors, as well as the refrigerant issues, as well as the water line issues, or whatever. You know, you can just keep compiling the list. It will make our job much simpler when we, as a maintenance crew, be able to go in and deal with those things.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My comment would be more in the construction aspect of it. You have a building here, which is a shell. Allsup's, which, you know, is a good building as well, another nice building, but we'd have to go in there. We'd have to do some demo. When you open up these ceilings, you don't know what's gonna be in there. You don't know what you're gonna
Amen.
find.
Amen.
And there's a lot of cost in that, bringing it all up to current codes, which this facility is. The infrastructure, you know, grease traps, the electricity,
Yes.
all this would be able to be handled here. You know, of course, you would be able to have to, you know, to distribute the electricity wherever you needed to. However, that's just getting from the panel from point A to point B.
Huge cost savings.
And,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you have the chase, and the raceways to do that as far as electricity. So, and looking at this, we can go in here, you can go in here, you guys, and custom fit everything to where it will match, rather than have a building that you have to go and demo again, and then say, okay, well, we're only limited, we can't get the electricity from there to here, or the plumbing from here. Here you can. You know, and of course, I mean, just being able to work this building for the purpose that you need.
Well, and it is a blessing that we had this building available to come in and repurpose for a lot of different reasons. And so having to look at each one of these things in isolation, 3 million for a kitchen at the high school, a training facility, redoing that for 2 to 3 million if we were to put it at its original plant site, housing that here, like you said, with a shell, erecting a complex for Mrs. Westbrook. Easily, I can tell you, we're spending over $10 million to do that. There is a cost savings here by using this facility for our community, and then keeping a complex from continuing to deteriorate. So I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to really focus in on some serious needs in our district and provide support for our families and our students.
I want to point out too that Mrs. Nigerville was talking about the opportunity to expand for ICANN and iAcademy. And the way that this plays into that is that with our facility master plan, we were taking one of those wings and we were going to knock walls down to create somewhat of a training space, just so we would have something. But by virtue of transitioning that here, that preserves that third wing over there that allows us to better serve those students that have those needs or that are more drawn to the setting of iAcademy. So that reduces the new work that would have been happening over there as well.
And doesn't, this building isn't designated the same through the state, so we're not under the same.
Exactly.
same-
It's not a campus. And so in terms of capacity that we were running into whenever that was affecting our match with the state, it's not an instructional campus. So those same criteria don't apply
It won't
here
affect
that
us,
were
right?
limiting us and that led to us needing to bump the pre-K out because we weren't getting credit, so to speak, for having pre-K in those classrooms.
I'm just excited about the opportunities we can give to our kids.
Absolutely.
You know, this is really a great, good building. I mean, awesome building. So with that, this is an action item.
Well, Mr. Cordova, I move to approve the resolution to repurpose Rain Tree property and to delegate authority.
Motion by Ms. Osborne,
Second?
second by Mr. Hamilton. Will you have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. President Cordova,
Yes.
Vice President Hamilton,
Yes.
Secretary Martin, Member Osborne,
Yes.
Member Weigel,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more item and then we can move on. Every year at this time, the board has the opportunity to nominate an individual or individuals to receive from the New Mexico School Boards Association the Excellence in Student Achievement Award. And we typically come to you with a recommendation. And so tonight I am coming to you with a recommendation. You can certainly add on to that if you choose. But the name that I'm bringing to you is someone who has experience 30+ years, who has made an impact at elementary, middle, and high school levels, and then has gone on to the district level to impact student organizations, to impact our facilities. And he doesn't have any idea that I'm getting ready to call his name, but my recommendation to you this year to receive this award would be Mr. Jay Brady for
Right.
all of his years of
Love it.
service.
That's fun.
And so that is a consideration item, and if you had others in mind, you could add as well. Last year, we gave 2 awards, but this is the name that we're bringing to you, so.
Well, I mean, I've known Jay forever. It's a long time, and that's a true wildcat right there.
Yes.
I know he cares a lot about the kids in our district, so.
I would definitely agree.
Done it all,
No.
right? We didn't do
No
it
one more worthy.
in special ed with Scott yet, so.
But I work close.
I can see that.
That's a consideration item.
Yes.
Mr. Cordova, I would move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. Brady to receive the NMSBA Excellence in Student Achievement.
I have a motion by Ms. Osborne. Have a second, please.
I second that.
Second by Mr. Hamilton. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Brady.
Congratulations.
Okay. We'll move down now to employee services. Mr. Strick, oh, there you are. You're not Mr. Strickland?
I'm not Mr. Strickland. Good evening, President Cordova, Ms. Russ, Ms. Gina. I'm here tonight to discuss with you the principal residency program that we currently have with Eastern New Mexico University. We have Dr. Selena Cumby and Dr. Matt Betterly here that are, you guys will come up. And then we have Miss Emily Clark and D.A. Kirk, who are our principal residents from Eastern, with their principals, Miss Shelley Smith and Lori Gamble. They have we have a great opportunity to, I'll just let them talk about it. So I'm going to let Dr. Cumby visit with you, and we're just really excited to partnership with them in this program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's so nice to be here. I'm Dr. Cumby, and I want to tell you that there are so many exciting things taking place here in Clovis Municipal, and we're glad to be a part of that as well. This is our first year at Eastern to have the principal residency program. And we currently have 2 students here, and we have 2 mentor principals that are doing a fabulous job. This is truly a partnership between the district and Eastern, and I'm telling you, it's been very, very effective. And our ultimate goal is to build that pipeline of principals that are ready to walk into a campus day one and ready to assist in any way possible. So what I'd like to do is kind of share, we have mentor principals and also interns, and so they're just going to briefly share with you a little bit about their experience. This is taken place within a 6-month period, and so we're looking forward to the rest of this semester as well.
Hello again. I'm Principal Shelley Smith of Parkview Elementary, and I just want to take a minute to tell you when I started, I took a more traditional route. I was very blessed because I was a TOSA and then a principal. But what these students are getting to do is so unique. And with the ENMU internship program, it truly prepares these administrators because leadership is learned in real time and it's not a theory. You're not learning a theory. You're not reading about a theory. You're truly in it. So it has just been amazing. And then I just wanted to say from the principal side of things, having an intern in my building has been a tremendous asset. Miss Emily Clark quickly became a part of our admin team. It has taken the stress off of parents, students, families, support, community, and she just has been able to step up, learn, support me while learning, while getting her education. And it's just been such a blessing to have her. And I've told the Eastern people, I'll take one every year. Sign me up. So it's just helped us greatly. And now a word from the amazing intern, Miss Clark.
Hello, good evening. I'm Emily Clark. So working side by side with my principal has really allowed me to see behind the scenes of this whole role, the decision-making, the problem solving, and all the difficult conversations that comes with being admin, whether that's with staff or with families. Truly, I have learned that while a principal always has a plan, sometimes your building has a different plan. So be flexible. And it's just been great to get that hands-on experience to shadow Shelley and everything that she has done. DA and I, who will speak in just a second, we have been given the opportunity to help out at other elementary schools and middle schools across the district when their administration is out. So that's given an opportunity and always thankful for that because obviously you trust us to do so. But it's nice to come into other buildings and see how they function and be able to use the skills that we have learned to help them out while their admin is out. And then this has really given me, I think, the confidence to be able to step into a building day one and run my own building. So that is big, big perk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Principal Gamble, Haley maybe now, so I'm transitioning, so it's gonna take a while to get used to that. I have the amazing opportunity to mentor Mr. Kirk. He has been a true asset. One of the things with this program is building that capacity within our district. I've been with you guys since the start, 19 years, so I'm a firm believer in building our leaders from within. And so his experience has allowed us to focus on that data-driven instruction and him getting that experience in real time and then going and coaching our teachers. And so I'm going to have him share some of that experience with you.
So one of the great things that, or one of the first things that came to mind was tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, and involve me and I understand. And just that building capacity, classes and notes are nothing compared to just being like thrown into it. And so working alongside Miss Haley has been incredible. Watching her do the data-driven instruction, the PD that we did in January, watching what she does and going to that PD, she could have run that PD and everyone would have learned exactly how she does it. I mean, she's incredible. And so being able to work alongside her and see the things that she does and being able to go into other schools and just experience day-to-day, principal life. We could go into a school and know exactly what we're doing. And so that data-driven instruction, just seeing how teachers, need to be looking at what their students aren't, getting right and, moving forward, what's the misconception, where are the gaps, and knowing what to reteach. It really should be driving, their instruction. And so, I'm really thankful for this program. I'm excited to see where it leads us, and it really gives confidence to what we're doing. And I don't think just the traditional program could do what this program can do. And so I'm truly thankful for this opportunity.
So you have a flyer, and it kind of gives some detail. You can really see how we have a district role and a university role and how we partner. Something that you may be interested in is the financial investment, which is at the very bottom. And we truly believe that our grant money should support these students. That's our #1 priority. So you can see that we help the district with $65,000 per resident to assist the salary. By all means, it doesn't cover the salary, but it does assist. And then we provide a stipend for the mentor principals. Our residents also receive all tuition for free and travel for individual coaching as well. And so Dr. Betterly and I, we serve as instructors and also as coaches. So we also come, so not only do they have a mentor principal, but they also have a university coach that is very actively involved. On the back of this flyer, you can see our timeline. The only date that I'd like to bring to your attention is February the 23rd. That is when next year's grant is due, and it requires an MOU from school districts that would like to be involved with our grant. And we would love to partner with Clovis again and experience even greater success. Thank you for your time. Is there any questions that any of us could answer?
Questions? More?
Sounds like an awesome opportunity.
It is an awesome opportunity. And you'll have to excuse us. We have an 8 o'clock meeting in the morning in Albuquerque, so we're going to be stepping out.
Please.
Be careful.
Appreciate it.
Safe.
Thank you.
Drive safely.
Thank you guys very much for being here. I really do want to kind of wrap it up in a bow in that if you'll remember back where we started with Ed Fellows and EAs and teaching them in the trenches and building that pipeline, this is the principal piece of that. And so not only have we started years ago with building teachers within our own ranks, now we are building principals and administration within our own ranks. And it has been a really valuable program. And I'm really excited that we're on the forefront of being leaders in that principal pipeline program. And so I just want to thank our Eastern partners, and I'm really excited for DA and Emily. On-the-job training is nothing like being in the classroom with books. You can't get anyone ready like you can with them just being in the building. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
That's a hard one to follow, but we have some really good news. I want you to look up at the board and notice the number on our sped openings. This has been a goal for quite a long time, and so we're at 0 right now, thanks to our partnership with Proximity Learning and also with our H-1B visa teachers. And so I'm really excited about that. I stand for any other questions. That's one piece I just had to highlight. It's the favorite part of that report.
That's a great achievement. Congratulations.
Is it down to, did I see 40 on there? Is that the total number?
Yes, and as long as I've been here, I don't recall
say that.
seeing a number anywhere close to that, so.
Yeah,
Only 8 classroom teachers, though.
yeah,
When you
that's
see up at the
amazing.
top.
And part of it is the relationship that we have developed with Eastern and with other universities and getting those people in the pipeline early, some of our own people. The last piece I have is there is a employee requesting a leave of absence, just as a reminder, if it's over 12 weeks, sometimes medical that does need a board approval. We don't put their name in there to protect their privacy, but I am coming to you with what our department has approved, waiting for you guys to approve.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Hamilton. Second. Second by Mr. Weigel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Okay, financial matters. Ms. Nieto.
I feel like I should go first because this isn't the fun part. So I need to go first and then let the fun part go last. Good evening, President Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ. I have 3 items for you tonight. The first one is a request for approval to dispose and remove from our inventory obsolete technology equipment that is broken, worn out, non-repairable, and it's no longer in use. And I stand for any questions.
If there aren't any questions, I have asked for a motion.
I'll make a motion to dispose of those items.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Weigel,
I'll second.
a second by Ms. Osborne. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item I have is just a discussion item. It's regarding an interim yield restriction analysis that was reviewed on our district's 2020A general obligation bonds. Per federal tax rules, they limit the amount of interest that may be earned on unspent bond proceeds. And we are required periodically to review for compliance in this. This review covers the 5 years from October of 2020 through October of 2025. And during this time, a small portion of the unspent funds earned interest, excuse me, at a higher rate than permitted under those federal regulations. So as a result, we were required to make a yield reduction payment to the IRS. That total payment was $18,669.87, which represents 90% of the calculated excess earnings as allowed under IRS rules. The routine is a compliance matter. It is not indication of any misuse of bond funds. It doesn't affect our tax exempt status of the bonds, and it does not impact the district's credit or it does not affect our bonds. That is not going to work with me tonight. I apologize. The payment, we made that by our required deadline in December. It did have to come out of operations. I was really trying to just get it out of the interest that we earned, but it's not allowed per PED. And then our next required review will occur at our 10-year mark or unless our bonds are retired earlier. I do want to just mention that we are all still in compliance with any federal bond requirements, and I stand for any questions.
I have an answer.
That's an interesting rule, isn't it? But
We made too much.
no, we were too successful. There you go.
Yes, and I feel a part of that was due to the COVID.
Right. still feeling the effects, aren't we?
Yes, yes. So the final item I have is our teacher cost index report that we submitted to the state. This is a required report that reflects experience level and licensures of all of our teaching staff. It is used as part of the state's public school funding formula and directly affects our operational funding. The report is broken down by years of experience and licensure level. And overall, the data reflects a workforce that includes a mix of early career teachers and some more experienced higher licensed staff. So based on this information, the district's teacher cost index for October of 2025 is 1.012. And this is the snapshot that is going to be used for the state funding for calculation and compliance purposes. And I stand for any questions.
Do we get to count our H-1 visa or whatever the number is?
So,
Teachers on that?
so yes, we have to choose a payroll in October. And then, yeah, and we did find out, Ms. Russ and I were requesting if it was any teachers, but even if they were on any kind of leave or didn't receive a pay, we could not use those. It was just based on that specific payroll. Yes,
But we could use them.
yes, yes. If they were on that payroll, we could use them. Yes.
It's early October, so.
Mhm.
My only question, yes.
Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move down to open forum. Tina, do we have any cards?
Mr. President, I have no cards.
With that, we're on to Ms. Russ.
Thank you. I do want to say that January is School Board Appreciation Month, so we want to appreciate you. Thank you for being here tonight and all that you do. February 6th, progress reports will be going out. February 16th, all campuses and district offices will be closed for President's Day. And we will be back at the GC Ross Administrative Offices on February 24th for our next regular Board of Education meeting at 5:30 p.m. And that is all that I have for you.
Well, with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Hamilton,
Second.
second by Mr. Weigel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.